You've done this totally independently, Jon. You didn't go and approach anyone for distribution. I mean, you don't have a distributor for this film.
No, we're self-releasing through the website.
Right. And you funded it yourself, more or less, or at least you organised the funding yourself?
I mean, when it was made, there was no... I haven't got any money, so it was made for no money. Yeah, it was made for no money at all. It was filmed for no money. I teach at a kind of non-profit film workshop, so I just called in favours and took all their equipment when they were closed and went and filmed it.
Did you ever return it?
Bits of it. Yeah. Broken.
And so yeah, so you didn't spend any money making it, and you sort of called in favors to edit it and stuff. And
yeah.
What about music clearance and things like that? Presumably that was a certain amount of money.
That's
involved.
why it's taken 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, the film was finished a year and a half ago, pretty much. But then you hit the point. You can make a film for no money, but you can't get it out for no money at all. So we needed money for a sound mix. That was the biggest problem with the film. I mean, still when you watch the film, there's kind of sound issues. And we had the team behind the King's Speech work on it. That's the best they could pull out of it.
It sounds great. There's one scene where Ed's mic seems to have dropped off.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It was, and we didn't know. I don't think we caught it until Jon was the one filming that interview. I don't think we even caught it until I was doing the sound.
Oh, right. Right.
We didn't catch it till the end, and it was really frustrating because what he said was so important, and we did go backwards and forwards about whether to keep it in the film or not. But you know what? It's a scrappy film, and if it were anything else, it would be really dishonest. And that's a backwards. One of my best friends edited it. Ben was one of the editors on it. And one of the arguments that me and Ben have had backwards and forwards is Ben's a professional editor, and he's constantly trying to make it look good. And I was constantly having to say to him, "No, you've got to make it look worse. We've got to. It's going to be dishonest. It had to look like a fanzine." So
Stuart Lee, nice to have him doing the narration there. Was that something that he was happy to get involved with?
No, I kind of emotionally blackmailed him into doing it. I just always wanted him to do it. He'd been at Oxford like in the 80s, and he'd gone to a lot of gigs, and he'd written the only article I found when I was doing the research on Oxford music, which was a one-page thing in the Melody Maker, and I love him, and I just thought I want him to do it. So I just started really phoning him and emailing and bullying him, and he kind of fobbed me off for a long time. And then I went to one of his gigs with an rare Incredible Hulk comic.
Oh, yeah.
He loves the Incredible Hulk. and I said to his manager, "Let me in because I've got a rare Incredible Hulk comic for him." And that was the thing, so they let me in. And I went and saw him, and I gave him that, and I gave him the film, and I just said, "You're the only person I want to do it."
You hulked him.
And hulked him, man. But in fairness, and the weird thing was that when he actually came and did the voiceover, he knows more about Oxford music than anyone else. I mean, it's really weird. Like, he's got kind of comprehensive knowledge of Oxford music.
He's a massive muso nerd.
So, yeah, no, totally. So I think he was happy to do it.
Why now, do you think? Why did you decide at this point to make a film about the Oxford music scene?
Well, I started 5 years ago.
Right.
So it's a different point. But it was the right time to do it. I'd always wanted to make a film about the Oxford scene. I mean, it's struck me weird that no one's done it before. People have covered every other regional music scene, and Oxford's produced amazing bands, and no one's ever connected that at all. So I always wanted to do it, but the catalyst for actually making it was the closing of the Zodiac. I used to own a video shop on the Cowley Road, which employed most of the musicians in Oxford, and everyone else used to come hang out there. And as soon as it was announced that the Zodiac was closing, it was so emotional, and everyone had a different point of view. It wasn't kind of one way or the other, and it just made sense that while it was closed for that summer, that was the right time to interview everybody, and people were feeling reflective.
Yeah. And how does it feel? Are you in a reflective mood having seen it, Mark, for example? Is it weird and looking at all that stuff, looking at your youth and looking at how young everybody looked? I mean, it's weird.
It's always weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
But does it feel good? Do you look back on it nostalgically and happily, or do you think, oh, it's a bit, I wish...
No, yeah, I'm fairly nostalgic with it and happy with it, yeah. Because actually, and also the film, I kind of didn't realise as well I realised there was a lot of bands and things going on, but I didn't realise to the extent that the film was shown. So it's quite good for me because I kind of heard about it more in my sort of front room or whatever, where people kind of came around for a few years.
Because I guess...
and especially these guys. So I thought they were actually having quite a good time, because you always seem to be pretty happy in my house. But so, now I realise why you were drinking like that in there.
I was rocking back and forth.
Jesus.
And Gaz, did it seem to you like a fair representation of the Oxford scene that you grew up with, or because it seems like from an outsider's point of view that it was one big happy family and it was like one big gang all pulling for the same team?
Well, kind of. I mean, I think it was also just really diverse, you know. I mean, I think we were all kind of, you know, we all kind of had our own sort of paths in a way, but we would kind of cross at each other's houses and just kind of hang out together. But in a sense, there was no kind of sort of defined sort of sound, you know, to sort of Oxford music, which I think, you know, seeing the film and kind of looking back is one thing I remember, is it was always very, you know, very diverse. And you know, I mean, I remember even the kind of bands that used to pass through. I just remember sort of seeing The Wedding Present at the Jericho Tavern and Inspiro Carpets, which are two of my sort of seminal gigs of my early teens, and also, you know, seeing Ride play and stuff. And it was, you know, just so much different stuff going on. So, but I mean, you know, also kind of the early sort of Supergrass time. I mean, we were in America a lot, and you know, kind of remember coming back from America after sort of 3-4 months and just seeing what was going on, and you know, kind of old ladies recognising me in the street and stuff, and you know, just really different, you know.
Yeah. You're Mark Gardner.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I was Gaz Coombes
No,
sometimes.
he lives down that street, it's down there, number 27. But yeah, no, it's strange. It's
That was weird.
And Ed, you know, you I guess Radiohead seemed to pop up as being the band that cast a little bit of a shadow over some of the other bands. And did you ever, when things started taking off for you, I mean, you having known all these bands as youngsters and roadieing for the Candyskins and stuff, when things did start taking off, did you ever have, you know, sleepless nights thinking, oh, that's a bit weird? To see all the...
Well, the thing is, when you're away, you're in the middle of it. So you know, and we were away so much that time. And it was normal. But then when we came back, I mean, for me, the biggest impact was my relationship with the Candyskins, who were really good friends of mine. And you know, they were the first band that I saw in Oxford that we opened up for you in like '87. Yeah. And it was just like, this is a really great band. So I always like really looked up to them massively. And so I found it really hard. I couldn't deal with it. You know, like there'd be this tension, you know, when we meet up occasionally, and you know, we all wanted to, you know, there's a lot of love, but you're having a hard time, we are having a good time, and it was, you know, it was one of those things. And in fact, the first time I saw this, I found, I mean, I still find it really emotional watching it, and I think I texted you immediately.
I feel really bad about that.
No. But I texted him because that tension affected, you know, our relationship in a way, and because, you know, I didn't know how to handle it, you know, and yeah, it was pretty weird.
And Nick, I mean, there's so many wonderful moments that you had as well. I mean, it's easy to cast you as one of rock's nearly men, but you did a of a lot better than most bands ever dream of doing. You know.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think that's very kind of you. Can I just say this is really strange?
It's strange for all of us.
It's what got me watching the film, because I have a very bad memory. It's hard to sort of recall what actually went on, not through drink or anything else like that, just a very bad memory. We just didn't know when to give up. We just carried on. Oh, you know, you watch the film. Oh, here they are again. Let's give it another go. And again. Yeah. So we just don't know when to stop. Yeah.
But then your music was so strong. I mean, like, why would you give it, you know, in a way that you had this great music?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very.
And people kept on realising it as well.
And you do it to kind of to do something, kind of to make an impact, and it's kind of, there's no point in kind of getting a few knockbacks and then sort of stopping it all, and you know, I remember seeing you guys play loads and always really enjoyed it, and it's kind of just, you kind of really get that feeling across that you just really kind of living it, and you know, it's sort of seeing it on stage, and it's kind of, that's the thing, is seeing it live.
It should also be said that, like, for people who were around at the time, they recorded 4 albums, which are really important to a lot of us. You know, I mean, the Candyskins were as important a band to me as any other band that I've grown up loving. And for a generation of people who went to Oxford gigs, and beyond that, because Candyskins did get out into the world, they got to America and stuff, to the people who know the Candyskins, those albums still mean a huge amount. So,
well, someone says towards the end of the film that, you know, success is really not that much about raking in the cash and doing all the superficial things with fame and fortune. And it is, the older you get, the more you realise that it's about a lot of different things. And if you, certainly you're aware that it's mainly about, if you're in the artistic field, about sort of having connected with a group of people at some stage for however brief a time, you know, and if you've been lucky enough to do that, then you can count yourself as a success.